What's up, YouTube? Here's my 2013 Hyundai Genesis Coupe 3.8 track. This car became a dream of mine a decade ago when I purchased a Hyundai Tiburon 2.7-liter 5-speed manual front-wheel drive in 2006. At the time, there was speculation about a completely refined rear-wheel drive 300-plus horsepower coupe, and a year later in 2007, Hyundai introduced the concept. After entering the market in 2009, the Genesis Coupe underwent several subtle changes, including, but not limited to, a redesigned front fascia and hood for 2013, GDI for the 3.8 V6, bumping horsepower to 348 at the crank and 295 foot-pound of torque, and a continually revised white paint before introducing this Casablanca white in 2013. This paint is characterized by a unique glitter from small yet dense metallic pearl and silver flake. I really like the overall design and aesthetics of the car, but I also purchased it for the redefined drivetrain, being rear-wheel drive with a Torsen limited slip differential. Not to mention a naturally aspirated V6 producing almost 350 horsepower at the crank. I did not buy the car for its bits and pieces. These are the things, however, that I improved over the last 2 years of owning the car. At the forefront, I focused on the front fascia, where I used Krylon Fusion and Dual Super Bond to refinish the front grille, introducing a silver metallic flake in the top coat and modifying the vents, albeit them fake, underneath the OEM fog lights and on the hood. I think these modifications have really enhanced the OEM appearance. Diode Dynamics supplied switchback LEDs, which in combination with the OEM DRLs provide a unique driving mode appearance. With that, we'll take a step inside and take a look at the driving environment. First, I'll shut the car off. It's in neutral now with the emergency brake off. That's why my daytime running lights are on. And first, you can see I have installed a steering wheel cover for added grip as well as comfort. I've also installed an ATQ short shifter with polyurethane bushings. And after at least a handful of shift knobs, I finally decided on the Hurst T-handle, drilled custom at 7-degree tilt by Core Shifters in Tennessee. I customized the center armrest for a level take on this shift knob, and I really like its offering of durability as well as cool temperatures in the summer and lack of ambiguity in how to grab the knob and the certainty that it therefore provides between gears. I've also installed a few decals on the inside to offset the black appearance, as well as an armrest for the driver, and SunTech CXP 35%, 70%, and 18% on the sunroof window tint installed by 215 Motoring in Woodbury, New Jersey. I attended a racing event at New Jersey State Motorsports Park last fall at their Lightning course, and there, as well as online at several car shows, I've seen racing seats. And being over 6 feet tall, I do tend to sit quite high in the vehicle. I do have sufficient leg room, but installing a racing seat would really give me a lower driving position as well as bigger bolstering and a little added comfort. But I realize that these OEM seats have airbags in them, not in the door panels for side impact, and really to sacrifice that safety for just a better appearance and added comfort, I'm not sure I would like to pursue that yet. So that's one thing I'm trying to decide on. But we'll take a look here underneath the hood. One of the things I learned at that track event back in the fall was the importance of brake fluid. In this car being a brake and clutch fluid, but I did flush the system using a pressurized brake fluid and clutch fluid tool, and used SRF React by Castrol, with a much higher wet and dry boiling point. I also installed the engine intake for a more natural sound to the engine. But I think at the core of the modifications under the hood was a custom tune that was performed by SFR in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Really, this tune brought a new life to the engine. I really enjoy the increased throttle response and the additional feel of horsepower throughout the entire RPM range. I think Jay did an outstanding job in performing this tune, and it really made my experience at the track ever so more enjoying, and I only, can hope for what that tune has to offer in the future. Also, as from a daily driving perspective. But from a handling perspective, I installed HSD coilovers, as you can see here, max roughly in the negative camber direction. And we'll take a look here at the front. I've installed 20-inch Lorenzo WL197 wheels, 9 inches wide in the front with 245/30 Nitto Invo tires. I used the factory OEM, the R-Spec camber bolt. I installed that and maxed in the positive direction to provide enough clearance for the wheels, and with the camber plate achieved about negative 1.2 degrees of camber in the front. I also installed Power Stop Street Warrior Z26 brake kit, including carbon ceramic pads, which really diminish the amount of dust and debris I get from the brake system, as well as really give a firmer grab and feel to the pedal. The HSD coilover in the rear, it's not really a coilover, it's a separate spring and shock setup. Here I have the 20-inch as well, Lorenzos with 10.5 inches of width and a 285/30 Nitto Invo tire. You can see here that 285 tire. I have about negative 0.9 degrees of camber to provide enough clearance for that tire and rim setup. But you can see that I'm a little bit higher in ride height in the rear than in the front of the vehicle for more of a raked appearance, and that's kind of for dual purpose. One being that I only have roughly 3/4 of an inch or so of travel right now in that shock from HSD at this ride height, so I'm at the lowest setting on that adjustment, and if I go any lower in ride height by the spring, I'm going to have less travel in that shock. I don't hit the bump stop, so I'm at a fairly stiff setting, about 10 dampening off of the softest setting. But I am happy with that setup around, and the other reason is for the CNT version 3 exhaust that I installed. I really like the sound of this exhaust, and the problem is its resonator sits awfully low, and it's only about 4 inches off the ground. So that's one reason why I just want to keep the rear of the car a little bit higher. And really, I think that it's worked out well with the HSD coilovers, providing that adjustment and dampening and making the rear pretty stiff, and also, the ride height adjustment. I've installed Redline GL5 75W90 gear oil in their differential, as well as Redline fluid in the transmission. I've also installed Moog end links for the rear as well as in the front, and ATQ also supplied subframe rigid collars between the frame and the body, and I've also installed those. I think just all in combination, these improvements and upgrades really provide a more crisp, precise, and responsive handling. And in 2 years, I really think that I've done my best to make this car worthy of its name, and that is the 3.8 track. And it's the last year, 2013, of that submodel nomenclature. It was thereafter became the Ultimate. And it's really been my goal to make the car worthy of that name, and I took it to the track last fall, and it was a wicked day in November, wind chills in the mid-20s, but I had an awesome time. I really didn't know, never really pushed the car to the limits. And I didn't reach the limits. I was under 9 miles to the gallon, average for an hour and 20 minutes, but the car handled phenomenally. I stability control kicked in once, but I think the tires just weren't warm, and it was in an S turn around 5,000 or more RPM in third gear, and I added a little bit of negative camber to the front of the car. I only had negative 0.7 back then, so I think that's going to improve that, as well as just warmer temperatures. So I hope to attend several more track events in the future, and I'm really just putting this video out there on YouTube because I respect, you know, all the creators of videos out there and the help that I receive through the internet on how to install coilovers and, you know, SFR, and, you know, without the internet and GenCoupe.com and all the input other people have provided, I mean, none of this would have been possible. So I just wanted to put this out there as just kind of a summarization in less than 15 minutes of what I've accomplished in 2 years. And I can't imagine what's in store in the future. I know one thing concretely: I have a catch can on order for the PCV line, and I think that's one maybe downfall of the direct injection. It did offer another 42 horsepower, but there is evidence and discussion out there about excessive carbon deposits on intake ports and valves, and I think that's one thing from a general maintenance perspective. I think this car is going to last a long time, and I think anything I can do to improve those, you know, the longevity of it and keep up with the general maintenance, oil changes and fluid changes, and I think this car is going to last a long time, unlike my Tiburon, which I sold in, you know, about 8 years. But so I mean, I don't know the future of Hyundai. This car was a little secretive, but I mean, there was a lot of discussion in the concept offer, and now with Genesis being a sub-brand, and, you know, this coupe, you know, G70 luxury and 3.3 twin turbo and all-wheel drive, and, you know, different you know, managers, and Albert Biermann coming from BMW, and there's an infinite number of things I can imagine. So at the time, I mean, I just really respect Hyundai for its efforts in creating this car, and it's the 7th year of the vehicle, and I just really, in some ways, wish I saw more Genesis Coupes around. I know where I live in southeastern Pennsylvania, it's a very rare vehicle. I'll be lucky if I see about a handful or two a week, or, well, even a month, I would say. Really, it depends on what the weather's like, of course, but it's, you know, and the meets, I only see a few, and I mean, SFR's meet was great. I mean, there was 60 or more Genesis Coupes there, and all the work he does. I'm really lucky to have his shop so close to where I live in Westchester, but you know, I can only imagine what's in the future. But I just want to put this video out there, and feel free to comment or ask any questions, and I'll do my best to answer. But I hope to see you out there on the road. I mean, you never know. If only I could drive the car across country and see everyone's. That's what YouTube's just amazing in that fact. You can search anything and usually it comes up. So I just wanted to contribute my, you know, whatever I can to the nation and beyond out there. So good luck with your cars, and I hope you enjoyed watching this, and thanks again.